Hey, hello and welcome. My name is Erica. I recognize most of you, a couple new faces. I'm the registered dietitian here. This is our monthly cooking class. And today we are talking about fall produce and we are making a couple different soup recipes. So soups are a really lovely thing to make when the weather gets cooler out because you can make them really healthy. They last a long time, or they can feed a crowd. And generally, they're pretty inexpensive as well. So we're gonna make two different kinds today, and the one I'm gonna get us started on right now is I'm gonna make kind of like a curried butternut squash soup. So it's gonna be just a tiny bit kind of spicy and a little bit sweet because butternut squash has some of that inherent sweetness. And it's completely plant-based. It is completely free from meat or dairy. And it's really, really inexpensive. All you really need is a couple of butternut squash and a couple other simple ingredients. So I'm actually going to make mine in the Instant Pot today just because we don't have a lot of time. And we can't just sit here and watch a crock pot go. But you can make this on the stovetop, or you can make it in the crock pot. You can make it in the Instant Pot. There's a lot of different options for you there. So what I'm starting to do right now is I'm actually using 2 butternut squash. I already cubed up one of them. It's in here, okay? So I'm just gonna set my Instant Pot to saute mode, and I'm gonna add a little bit of coconut oil. And I'm using coconut oil because this is kind of, we're using coconut milk, coconut oil. We kind of want some of that flavor to come through. I generally think that olive oil is the healthiest cooking fat, but when you want the more distinctive flavor of coconut oil, that can be a good option. Ooh, I'm just going to saute that a little bit. Now, if you do have an Instant Pot, putting it on saute mode while you're adding all of your ingredients helps it come to pressure faster. Because that's the thing about Instant Pot, it's really fast. It can cook things really fast, but it has to come to pressure. And coming to pressure can sometimes take the longest time. Like we're only gonna cook this soup for 5 minutes, but it probably takes like 10 minutes to come to pressure. So anyway, so I'm just gonna get that sauteing a little bit, and I'm going to cube up this other butternut squash. You can kind of smell that coconut coming through. So this is a butternut squash. Now these can be kind of tricky to cube sometimes. I already peeled it, but basically this is kind of what it looks like in the store, right? So it has a section where all the seeds and the guts are, so you're gonna take that out. And I usually cut it in half, so this section doesn't have any seeds, so it actually cuts into slabs pretty nicely. Thanks, Karen. So I just cut that into big slabs, and then I would just cut those into chunks. Just like so, and we don't have to be very particular about size and shape because this is actually going to be like a creamy butternut squash soup, which means we're gonna liquefy the cubes so they don't have to be perfect. Yeah, okay. Always. Okay, so got that. Got that kind of sauteing. Now we're just gonna add a couple more ingredients. So I'm just gonna get this kind of coated with the oil. We are going to add some ginger. Okay, some fresh ginger, which is immensely good for you and your immune system. Okay, so I'm just gonna grate a little bit of fresh ginger here. And I'm just using this little microplane grater. You could use powdered ginger if that's what you have, but I think fresh ginger has a lot better flavor and it's really super inexpensive as well. Plus, you can just if you just use a little bit, you can keep the extra knob in the freezer so that it doesn't go bad. And then every time you need to use it, you just take a little bit out of the freezer, grate a little bit, and then put your knob back in the freezer. Okay, so we got our fresh ginger. We're gonna add that into there. We're also going to add some fresh garlic.
Yeah.
Also super immune boosting and good for you. Has some anti-cancer properties. So I just used my knife, break it apart, grab a couple cloves, cut off the root end of the clove, then give it another smash. And then generally it falls out of the peel pretty nicely. Okay, so it's smashed, it doesn't hold its shape, but that's okay because we're gonna chop it up anyway. And like I said, we can give all of these things a pretty rough chop because it's all gonna get blended up anyways. So, comes right out of the peel when you give it a smack. There we go. And I think I'll do about 3 cloves of good sized garlic. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of slice that up. And then that's gonna go in. Also, what's gonna give it a tremendous boost of flavor is we have red curry paste.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is what it looks like.
Spicy.
Okay, you can find this at any grocery store. It's in the Asian foods aisle. So we're gonna add a couple of big spoonfuls of that. At least 3 tablespoons.
You like the spice?
Yeah, this adds a lot of that great curry flavor. And then we want to stir and make sure that garlic and the curry paste hit the hot oil. That really helps bring out their flavor. So you can see the cubes are kind of getting coated with some of that curry paste in there. That's what we want. Okay, we are also going to add a thinly sliced onion, because onion is kind of the base for all soups. It's really good and traditional, adds a good solid base of flavor. So I have just an onion here. I'm not going to worry about cubing it. I'm actually just going to give it a thin slice, and we're just going to add that all in as well. No fingertips. You got to keep your fingertips back and keep the root end on the onion, and that's kind of what you hold on to as you slice through it there.
What kind of onion is that?
This is a sweet onion. I love using sweet onion. It's probably my favorite onion variety, especially for cooking.
Me too.
It has a little bit milder flavor. Yeah. So now we are going to add some vegetable broth. Okay, and that's going to help us cook that butternut squash through. And since there's a lot in here, oh, I wanted to add just a little bit of salt and pepper as well. That kind of just reinforces the flavors going on. But really the ingredient list on this is pretty dang simple. And then we are just going to cover this and cook it for 5 minutes. And then there's a couple ingredients we will add after the butternut squash has been cooked and pureed. So I'm just gonna get this to cover. If you were making this on the stovetop, you would just dump the broth in, cover it with your lid, and then simmer it until the butternut squash was cooked all the way through.
I'm now releasing the pressure.